Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, where today we're going to be talking about 5 signs your nonprofit has outgrown QuickBooks and what you can do about it. Just a couple quick housekeeping items before we get started. We would love to answer your questions today as we're going through this webinar, so please chat those to us and we will respond. If we don't get to all the questions, we will follow up with you afterwards. And I wanted to let you know that you will be getting an email with a link to the recording as well as the slides themselves, so feel free to share them with your colleagues. Some quick introductions before we get started today. I'm Joan Benson, and I lead the industry marketing team at Sage Intacct. My background is in finance and accounting, and I've been at Sage Intacct for about, this is my 10th year. And joining me today is Mary Frances Pigeon, and she is our Senior Nonprofit Solution Consultant, and she's going to actually be taking us into the product today to kind of apply some of the topics that we're going to be talking about. So here's a quick overview of the topics we're going to be talking about today. We'll be looking at nonprofit accounting needs and requirements, signs you've outgrown QuickBooks, scalability, and best-in-class financial management solutions, and then the technology that grows with you to help you accomplish all of this, and then we'll share some resources with you as well. So we're going to start today by taking a look at kind of the priorities and the things that are happening in the nonprofit sector and how that affects our view of the technology solutions that we use. Oftentimes, nonprofits, when they're starting out and when they're smaller organizations, they manage their accounting operations with small business software like QuickBooks. These solutions often are chosen because they're inexpensive and they're fairly easy to get started and use. However, as your organization grows in reach and in funding sources and complexity, it begins to experience some difficulties using these types of small business applications. Over the past decade, nonprofit organizations have dealt with new challenges, including rising donor skepticism, changes in compliance requirements, increased scrutiny from the IRS, and then, of course, COVID-19. Congress has passed legislation to better monitor how nonprofits manage and account for their donations, assets, and expenditures. The IRS has made significant revisions to Form 990, requiring nonprofits to provide more information trying to gauge accountability. More than ever, nonprofits need to have greater transparency and demonstrate accountability to establish and maintain integrity and to make sure that they maintain their reputation. And, of course, we want to make sure those donors feel like they're getting not only transparency and accountability, but a strong return on their investment and that the mission is doing what it was intended to do. Nonprofits need financial accountability, and they need a technology solution designed for their specific needs. Small business application software like QuickBooks typically lack the functionality to track multiple funding sources in the reporting tools and fail to allow you to have easy, efficient, timely reporting within the accounting and financial system of record. More and more funders are requiring outcome and performance metrics as well because they want to ensure that the gifts are being utilized for the best possible results. Nonprofits need a financial management solution that provides statistical measures and incorporation of outcome metrics within the financial system itself and automate that in gathering and tracking and reporting on that information. Best-in-class financial management solutions with a focus on nonprofit needs and requirements will really help organizations maintain that accountability, transparency, and reliable financial data for the organization, their auditors, their board, and their constituents. Over the last few decades, nonprofit organizations have struggled to support increasing demand for services while finding themselves in a very competitive fundraising environment. While the pandemic has brought challenges for fundraising and donations, we've been very fortunate in that giving continues to be strong and to grow even through the difficult times of the pandemics. So the good news is that funding seems to be stabilized. We had a lot of increase in donations from foundations that kind of covered some of the gap and from individuals. So we've continued to have strong fundraising. And we want to talk about today the technology that's going to really allow you to better engage with those donors and to show them your transparency, your accountability, your stewardship, so that they can be certain that they're getting the best return on mission for the dollars that they're giving. When your organization was started, it wasn't possible to see the events, the needs, priorities, and the support that would be a part of the future. While your mission may be the same or it may have expanded, nonprofit organizations, by their nature, change to meet the dynamic world that we serve in. New programs are created. New funding streams are added. Pandemics and economic crises change or expand our constituents and our priorities. As the organization becomes more complex with additional and different funding sources, compliance requirements, reporting and transparency priorities, new locations, etc., we really need changes to our support technology to ensure that our finance and our leadership teams can achieve mission success. As your nonprofit grows, your funders, your programs, your constituents, and your staff are going to grow as well. So you may add new programs, locations, ministries. You may merge with another nonprofit. But this growth means support and services for your community. But it also means that your financial system needs to be adequate to manage that growth in complexity. Federal grants, individual gifts, bequests, restricted funds, private grants, impact investment. Funding can get complex very quickly. And without a modern financial management system that moves you beyond the startup environment, you find yourself struggling with reporting, audit trail, and accountability, not to mention automated performance and outcome measures. But no worries, because life can be easy and greatly simplified with best-in-class financial management solutions. So let's take a look at some of the top indicators that your organization is outgrowing QuickBooks. Okay, so I'm going to drill down and give you my 5 signs that your organization is outgrowing your small business solution like QuickBooks, and that I'm sure your team will have some additions to add to that. Sign number 1, your audit trail is insufficient. Stewardship and accountability are vital to the sustainability of a nonprofit organization. Whether charity evaluators, constituents, potential donors, it's critical to have technology solution that's going to provide you that deep and full audit trail to not only prevent fraud, but to ensure that you are achieving the best possible return on mission. Audit requirements and needs vary across different organizations, but all organizations need a modern audit trail that tracks across all aspects of the organization. In addition to your audit trail, what we've learned over the past few years is that it's very important to have a technology solution that's fully adaptable to remote workforces. And your external audit should be the same. Best-in-class technology solutions like Intacct provide the tools that you need for a fully remote audit out of the box. This illustration gives you more context into what you should be getting with a modern financial and accounting solution. Beyond the full audit trail and visibility, you're going to need flexible workflows with approval automation. You need to be able to apply document management to every transaction with automated notifications. This is really going to provide a huge service to your organization from an efficiency perspective. At Sage Intacct, we're leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning to provide even more automation and audit of transactions. We even offer giving you notification of outlier transactions. So this helps you improve your efficiency and provide much greater visibility to unusual activity. So as you're closing your books or wrapping things up, or even any time during the month, if there's a transaction that happens that is outside of the norms for your data and your historical way that you do business, it's gonna raise the flag and notify you that, hey, a human needs to look at this because something doesn't look right here. That's the type of enhancement and help that you're going to get with a modern cloud financial management system that can leverage artificial intelligence to make things more and more automated for you to help you be able to focus on the things that really matter for the organization. Okay, sign number 2. We hear this all the time. Reporting is a struggle and often outside the system. Nonprofits have unique reporting needs and often include expense categories, projects, funding, grant, location, outcome metrics, activities, and if you find it cumbersome and difficult to quickly get the specific view of your data that you are needing, or if you're constantly exporting, cutting, and pasting data into Excel for analysis and reporting, you're probably outgrowing QuickBooks. A modern financial management system with a focus on nonprofits will allow you to quickly drill down with instant visibility to any level of detail that you need. Do you need to look at immunizations administered last month by location, grant, with budget information? It's just a few clicks of your mouse. It's not multiple spreadsheets that are time-consuming and error-prone. You need an internal report writer to access standard reports that are designed for nonprofit organizations. You need to track multiple budgets and programs and grants that cross fiscal years. You need to have dashboard visibility to cash, program progress, funding efforts, and approvals. This is a view from a role-based dashboard, and these type of dashboards provide your teams with views of data that the individuals need and that they want to look at and monitor and be aware of on a consistent basis. This example is their budget to actual. It's also some of their key metrics. CFO dashboards are going to be different than an executive director or a grants manager. So you can provide the view on your dashboard that the specific user wants to see. You can even give dashboards to your external auditors and your board members so that they can see key data that you want to share with them. You can send it to them, give it to them via view only. So they can't make any changes, but they can have instant access to real-time information and data. So you can easily accomplish even whether it's working remotely or working with third parties, and being able to have everyone have a clear view of the information and data that you want to share with them in real time. And they can even drill down to source documents, which makes it really nice, especially when you're talking about audit. In this dashboard, we're looking at outcome and performance metrics views, and it gives you some specific performance metrics that we've defined and we've set up. So what's interesting about this is it reflects information that's brought together that's both statistical in nature and financial and provides a true performance perspective. So that's the great thing about a cloud-based system like Intacct. It allows you to bring in statistical information that may be coming from your donor management system or another system. It could be coming from your patient information. But you're bringing information into your financial system of record and being able to easily point and click to marry that up to the cost side. So you can look at cost per meal served or cost per immunization given. You can track everything from donor counts to specific mission-related counts and measures and metrics, connecting them to the applicable dollar side, so you could get metrics that really reflect what's happening. Now, in this healthcare example, we're tracking in the financial system key indicators related to patients served, office visits, number of clinicians, revenue per clinician, revenue and expense by clinic, patients per practice area, revenue sources, operating expenses by functional category. So all of these are the type of things when you're in a nonprofit healthcare organization that you're looking for. This brings it all together in a really nice way and adaptable so that every different user can have different sets of metrics and reports and scorecards that they're monitoring and looking at on a daily basis. I wanted to share this with you real quickly because this dashboard is reflected of another application of taking your financial information and instead of spending long hours in spreadsheets and reviewing reports, it's putting it in a dashboard. And this is just one of the packet of our executive reporting system that allows you to share with, for instance, your outside board of directors. And it's giving them best practice reports and information that they should be talking about in their board meeting, and even questions related to this particular dashboard to discuss and talk about. So there's a package of these that you may have the balance sheet reports or the income statement reports or cash flow, but all the things relevant to you, so you're not having to constantly at the last minute put together reports. It's all there in real time, and you can share it out with your board members. Okay, sign number 3, limited product functionality that doesn't support the complexities of your dynamic organization. QuickBooks and other small business applications are really not designed to handle multiple data elements. Unfortunately, that is exactly what we have in the nonprofit sector. So if you find yourself constantly performing complex calculations and data manipulation outside of your solution, you've outgrown that solution. A best-in-class solution has user-defined account structures and provides a flexible chart of accounts structure and data with dimensions that you get to define for your organization. You may or may not have multiple types of grants or restricted funds, but you define and create your environment. Organizational growth and structure changes take only a couple clicks of your mouse. If you add a new location in Honduras or merge with another serving center, for example, so it's a couple of clicks of your mouse and you have structural changes that are fully operational. From credit card expense tracking to multiple location reporting, it can and it should be a breeze for you. As we all know, it's important to be able to quickly and easily adapt to compliance changes. And those seem to be increasing, not decreasing, for nonprofit organizations. So in the past, it's really been a burden on the finance team to manage that, and typically they've had to manage it outside the system. So in a modern system like Sage Intacct, you have robust reporting tools and dashboards. You get quarterly releases with new functionality, continually providing you with what you need. So when reporting changes happen, like when we had to adapt to FASB 958, or when you're required to maintain expanded disclosures of your financials, or new revenue recognition requirements, we're going to automate those for you. In this example of this dashboard, we're showing you the automation that captures both the previous reporting structure of FASB 116 and 117, as well as the new structure of FASB 958. That way we have great historical tracking information as well as an audit trail, so we see what it was in the other previous system and then the new requirements. And there's also a compliance dashboard to track all the new disclosure requirements that are now part of our reporting requirements. Sign number 4, that you've outgrown your small business application. You have inadequate visibility, business intelligence, and analytical tools. We all know how critical it is to be able to have that deep visibility, to be able to see maybe what's below the surface in this example. But nonprofits really need the best tools available to have that type of visibility, because we want to ensure that the organization can achieve mission success. Navigating without deep real-time visibility is dangerous, and it doesn't allow for timely analysis and decision-making. Being able to have visibility into everything from cash to program performance to budget to actual is critical for nonprofit organizations. Instant dashboard visibility to your key drivers is standard with the system, and you create the data views that you want to see. So the finance director's dashboard is going to look different than the grant manager's dashboard, but it's all providing instant view into the key data and metrics that's important for each function. Instantly viewing real-time data in a data matrix that you can manipulate and you can take any view of, you can slice and dice your data, and having that at your fingertips, whether that be on your laptop, your tablet, on your phone, is unique in the best-in-class financial management tools. If you need this type of functionality, you have outgrown your small business application. Now, this dashboard is a CFO example, and it's a good example of the visibility and insight we're just talking about. This dashboard takes minutes to personalize so you can instantly see what you want to monitor. And in this case, we're looking at real-time metrics related to program efficiency, fundraising efficiency, net assets, revenue and expense by source, program revenue, etc. I just wanted to call out here, if you note the approved purchasing transactions box as well, this is a great tool, especially when you might be out of the office, maybe traveling. On your mobile device, you're getting notifications here of approvals that are necessary for you. So wherever you are in the chain of approvals, you can have all different types of workflows, but you'll get that instant notification. So regardless of where you are, you can take action on those pending approval transactions. Sign number 5, lack of solution technical support and nonprofit expertise. Do you need some specific sector and technical support for your financial management solution? Most small business applications provide 30 days of support, don't have experienced staff that know the accounting and the nonprofit industry to help and support you at a moment's notice. As your organization grows and becomes more complex, professional accounting and nonprofit expertise is really important. Sage Intacct has thousands of employees operating in 24 countries, providing expert support that nonprofits need. In the last couple of years, we've seen compliance requirements change related to FASB 958 and revenue recognition and other ones. It's critical that your solution be able to quickly and easily support new requirements and provide you with flexibility to report on those appropriately and automate it. Does your solution come up short on support? Then you've probably outgrown your solution. It's really important when you're looking for new accounting software that you do your homework and you do your research. What you'll find out there are lots of solutions, but you really need to check from a customer perspective, talk to their customer references, ask for customer references. Check out the industry awards. That tells you a lot, especially things like Trust Radius. And also their partners that they're affiliated with. So like for Sage Intacct, we have the highest customer satisfaction rates in the industry and lots of very happy customers that would be glad to talk with you. Also, we're the only preferred provider of cloud financial management for the AICPA. So lots of important things that will help you from a research perspective, but it really pays to do your research and talk to current customers and find out those happy customers, what they're using, how they're using it, and what's made them successful. It's important to be aware that with Sage Intacct, you get a membership into a community, and you have access to membership master classes, customer meetups, the community where you can get help from your peers, from accounting experts and nonprofit experts. You can participate in regional user conferences, and of course, our annual user conference that supports the entire country. So lots of opportunities for you to become a member, become part of the organization and part of the community that's really focused on nonprofits. I wanted to share with you just a few examples of organizations and the kind of results that they're getting. In this one, we're looking at Meals on Wheels, and I think one of the great things here is they had a 60% shorter audit preparation time using Sage Intacct, and they said that the software paid for itself in 2 months. That's a huge return on investment, huge return on mission, and all types of benefits that people are showing. So I'm going to show you another example because when we talk to folks, these are the kind of things that they want to know because it helps them from taking these kind of decisions to their board to get approval for things, to really know what the upside is going to be for them. This example is Pavlon Healthcare, and one of the things I like to call out here is the 73% faster month-end close cycle. That's saving lots of time, stress, a better work-life balance when we're able to help a finance team reduce month-end close and make it 73% faster. That's a huge win. And this example is Vitamin Angels International org, and one of the great benefits and gains that they've had in switching to Sage Intacct is freeing up $200,000 in logistics cost for their programs, and they were able to funnel that right back in to being able to provide nutritional supplements for mothers and infants. So our missions matter, and being able to reduce our back office expense so that we can spend more money on the program side of the organization, have greater impact, greater mission success, that's a win for us. So I wanted to share that with you. I wanted to share this with you. When you get the deck or a copy of the deck and the recording, you can just see some of these great efficiency gains, shorter close time, reduced operating costs, faster audits. I think it's so important to be able to look apples to apples. These are organizations that got great results when they moved from QuickBooks to Intacct. So there are some of our QuickBooks graduates in the nonprofit space. And I wanted you to have this because it gives you kind of a really broad example of some of the benefits that you can achieve. And one of the things that many of these customers that I've shared little bits out of their stories with you, that they've told us is that 80% of our customers told us they wish they had switched sooner because it would have had greater impact on their organization sooner. So I just wanted to share that with you. Now, Mary Frances is going to take you into the product and some of these concepts that we've talked about specific signs that you've outgrown your small business application. She's going to show you some of the reality of how that works in the system and what that looks like, kind of finish connecting the dots there for you. Mary Frances, take it away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining Joan and I today. Again, we're going to be talking about your organizations that are currently on QuickBooks and outgrowing them. So let's start here. I've come into an instance of Sage Intacct, and as you can see, right up at the top, I'm Carla Grace. I'm going to be your super user today, and what that means to all of you is when you see me go around the solution, you're going to notice that Carla Grace has access to everything. As a super user, I permissioned her with the proper securities, not only to be able to land on this wonderful dashboard, but also have access to all of these wonderful modules. So she can go anywhere in the solution that she chooses to, and even though these modules are available to her, based on her permissions, determines what she can do in the solution. So for instance, like purchasing, she can do all these transactions. She can do all of this type of activity and have all of these reports available to her. Also, as I mentioned, I landed on a dashboard. Well, if we take a look here, she has all of these dashboards available to her as well. She can create dashboards, she can share dashboards, and she can have as many as she chooses to. So that's the beauty of dashboards, is you can create them based on your role. So if your role requires you to have daily functions and then periodic functions, you can set the dashboards up to accommodate for that. Now, also, when we talk about growth in QuickBooks, a lot of times we're talking to organizations that have maybe acquired a foundation or an association, and that requires them to have different entities. And today, they might be working in a couple instances of QuickBooks. We're here in the Sage Intacct solution. You can see Carla Grace came in. It's a single instance, but she also can see all of her entities that she has available to her, all under one umbrella. Now, saying that, I want you to feel comfortable that because of my permissions and securities, I am now going to switch hats on you, and I am going to go over to another user. Here's Paul Smith. Paul Smith's a light user, maybe an employee user. Maybe he's an employee of the organization. He only has access to my main entity, and he's a department head over counseling services. So as you'll notice when he comes in, he only has reports available to him based on what he can see. So based on his role, this is what he can see. I've made it easy for him. I put some information on a report regarding actual and original budget with some variance information. I've also, you'll notice, he doesn't have a drop-down window like Carla did of all their entities. He's only permissioned to just this one and can only transact in just this one. If you want to pick and choose what your users can do, maybe they're in charge of 2 entities, then you can do that as well. You'll also notice, as far as modules or applications are concerned, based on his role, I didn't access him to a whole lot. So you'll notice there's not as much real estate that he has like Carla. If I look at just the purchasing, you'll notice in here, maybe he needs to enter an invoice for approval or requisition so that he can get approval for the cost of something that he wants to purchase. But take a look here. As far as any type of approval or activities, he has none available to him. As far as any reports, again, none available to him because I didn't think that that was important based on his role in the organization. So you can see how granular you can be in setting up permissions and securities. And those permissions and securities, when doing workflow or changing transactions, are also going to help with an audit trail that Joan was talking about. So again, the reason we talk about the AI CPA endorsing just the Sage Intacct solution, the only financial solution today, is because of a lot of the what I call checks and balances that we have within the solution. So now, let's just start talking just about some of the things we have available so that you can grow and scale and make that move and graduate from where you are today in QuickBooks to the Sage Intacct solution. So you'll notice here, a lot of times, after the implementation team leaves, they may have helped you and it was wonderful and you have these beautiful dashboards, but maybe you want to change something. Well, right within the solution is our help. I can even go to the help center or I can go help on this page. Maybe I'm trying to do something on a dashboard. So I have the ability at this point to actually take a look and it jumps right to the dashboard where I can filter, add, edit, any of the type of information. However, maybe it's more about, maybe it's accounts payable. Maybe they were thinking they want to set up a new bill or payment. They forgot. Again, all of this online tutorials or guides are available right within the solution. Maybe it's a brand new AP clerk or somebody, an accounting staff, and they like the self-paced training. You'll notice down at the bottom, they've got that available as well. Or maybe they want to attend an actual class. And so you can go to the Help Center and actually register for either an online remote class or an on-site class. So you have many, many choices in which to acquire any type of helps through the solution and get support. We also have, I notice a lot of times, especially when you're more tactical in nature and working in the accounting solution, you're having to search for things, whether it's an invoice number, a check number. Well, you have a global search available to you here. You also can be very granular with regard to the searches, and maybe it's right into an AR invoice or an AP bill. So again, you can be as granular as you need to be. Now let's take a look out here. I'm looking now at this point right at a dashboard. And I like to come to this metric dashboard because it has a lot of different components on it. So let's start with the top component. We call these performance cards. And as you can see, as I'm hovering over, I've got some metric information here. But it's changing colors. And what that means to you is you have the ability to drill all the way down to the source of information. So as I'm drilling down and going right in to the general ledger here, you're noticing this is going to take me, in this particular instance, to a journal entry. Happens to be a statistical journal entry that I'm going in. And what's extremely unique about this and the Sage Intacct solution is our ability to track things versus dollars. So again, volunteer hours, or as you saw out there, I can track the number of youths we serve or meals we serve. So think about your organization and the things that you like to track. What's most important to you? So it doesn't necessarily have to be the financial side where it's debits and credits. It can be things around different types of metrics that you're keeping outside the solution today because you have no place to house it within. In our solution, you will have the capacity to do that. Now, there's three ways the information gets in here. If you're keeping it manually, then you can absolutely type it into the solution. If you're keeping it in another system of record, then you can utilize one of our mapped CSV templates, and you can export it out of that system of record and import it in here. Or you might be using a CRM solution, might even be one of our marketplace partners that already have a connector. And what we mean by a connector is we have our cloud-based solution with open architecture, and they call that an API. You're going to build an API. I call it a bridge from one solution to our solution. And then that means that you can capture the information, whether it be financial in nature or metric in nature, automatically. You also look at these performance cards. They tell you a lot of things right there. So as a visual, you'll notice that I can measure it against different cadence. This one happens to be prior year, but it could be prior quarter, prior month, whatever it is and how you measure, we can capture that. You'll also notice nice little indicators. And as an accountant, I went right into this one right here. Wherever there's red, there's something to investigate. So again, it helps the viewer, someone who's actually looking at it and maybe doing analysis, or maybe even a board of directors that you want to give just view-only access to. It can easily help them identify maybe challenge areas. Now take a look down here. I have a report. In most financial solutions, you can always get out different reports. But what makes this report a lot more robust, a lot more unique is notice the metrics that I have up here, the number of use. Well, I can see for all the programs I'm running how well and where the use are within each of these programs, and from a cost perspective, what it's costing me for each one of them. Because Joan talked about, funding sources. Well, you want to be able to make sure that if you're short in one program area, that you're able to go secure funding for that. In order to do that, you have to be able to validate those numbers and know where those programs run short of funds. This is another way to do it. So by having the metrics actually embedded in your report, something that you probably do outside in a spreadsheet somewhere, you now have available real time. So it's anytime, anywhere, on any device that you can access this information. I also went one step further. This report is more than just informational, but it gives your viewer the ability to look at a report and now build some, what I call, intelligence into it. So you've got a spark line here. Maybe I work for you and I'm, in charge of all these programs. I can see that across the board in these programs, my personnel expenses are starting to rise. Maybe I need to understand why, because this might be something that you're going to question me about. So again, and even this one right here, you're seeing the G&A expenses are starting to go down. But again, I need to understand why so that I can emulate that across the board. So a lot of nice features within the report writer that make it a lot more robust, but tell the story. And you can do that within the system. You'll also notice this metric up here of the number of meals that I've served. Well, maybe I have certain locations or sites that I serve these meals at, and maybe I want to break them down. How many meals at each site gives me a better indication of how many people I'm serving. So again, I can see it from a graphical perspective, or I can come over here and see that same information in more of a financial perspective, even with the number of participants. So a lot of different ways to view this information that Joan's talking about from a reporting and accountability perspective. You're being accountable, but the reports on the dashboard are helping you to tell the story. Now let's come up here. Again, you're looking at this going, yeah, okay, Mary Frances, this looks great, and I can absolutely use this because it's stuff I am keeping outside. But how simple and intuitive is it to create stuff like this? Let me show you. Again, I'm an accountant of many, many years, and I do not have any DNA in me that scripts or codes. So having the ability to come in here and point and click and say, let's talk about a graph, a chart. So here I have this pie chart out here. Well, maybe for you all sitting out there listening to the webinar, maybe you would want to see the same results, but maybe in a more of a pie format or a donut or a bar format. And that's because the results in that format would resonate with you better. You've got the ability to do that. Each and every one of you, based on the dashboards or based on your role, the things you create have the ability to come in and do a point-and-click functionality for components that you want out there. So again, this solution was written by accountants for accountants. So they know that we know what we need, but actually sometimes trying to get it out of the system was always a challenge. Performance cards we talked about. So, building the different types of performance cards out there with different types of components, you're able to do that. The reporting. So again, we have over 140 standard reports that come out of the solution. As you can see, I can do any type of reports, but the reason I'm paging down right now is because I want to show you, I have this statement of revenue and expenditures. Again, they are templates that come out of the system, but I'm one of those accountants that hate to recreate the wheel. So I'm going to look at something and try to change it around. So you'll see, I use the same template for department comparisons, fund comparisons, grant comparisons, any type of initiatives. What I did was filter the information I wanted. If I needed to change the grouping or what I needed to see on the columns or on the rows, I can change that around. So it's not just a template that isn't flexible. You have the ability to go in and edit that. And so that's what makes it really nice is you have all of these standard nonprofit reports to pull from. And then, of course, if you know that you have a report sitting in front of you right now that's unique to your nonprofit organization, then absolutely you can create it from scratch. Along with the reports, smart links. So a lot of you, every one of you had payroll. And so how do you get your payroll to your solution today? So we give you a nice and easy, seamless way, again, using one of our mapped CSV templates. And once it's mapped, then this is something that your provider is just going to send to you all the time. So whether it's payroll, whether it's coming from a donor management, maybe you're a school, it's a tuition management type system, don't worry if they're an older type of on-prem solution, because you can export, you never have problems exporting the information out. As long as you can do that into this template, we can import it in. And for those of you that are a little more robust and you already have maybe something that you would like it being more instantaneous, then again, if you're working on any type of solution that's a modern-based cloud solution that has open architecture, then you can have what I call a connector. The collaboration right here. So again, smart links, you can put, any type of payroll or any type of other solution out here as a component so that you can launch into it. But I like the last one, collaboration feed. So for you that are out there right now, I would challenge you to say, how do you collaborate with your accounting staff today, or even your internal or external board members when they're looking at a report? Do you typically, if you're looking at something and have a question, pick up the phone, text them, email them, go running in their office looking for the supporting documentation? No longer do you have to do that. With this feature called collaboration, you will actually be able to collaborate with the financial staff. So let's say you're at the local coffee shop. You might be with one of your internal or external executives, or maybe even a board member. And all of a sudden, you send a chatter to someone questioning this particular bill that you drilled down to from a report because you saw something was not in alignment. When you drill down, you see it's $10,000 and you're wondering, wait a minute, it's the same event we attended last year, but the amount is double. You can chatter, and then let's say you chattered to Carla. Carla can let you know, yeah, we doubled the space. So immediately you now have an answer. But more importantly, every one of you get audited every year. And every year those auditors walk in with their friendly little faces and ask questions. Well, now they can see that someone in your organization already questioned that and a reply has already been given. So now that we've drilled down, again, right off the dashboard or through Chatter, what you're seeing is that you can drill down anywhere in the solution and get to any type of transaction. When we drill down, take a look at the wealth of information you see here. This just happens to be a bill. But within this bill, I can have what I call an online filing cabinet. So again, if somebody were looking at this, they have the ability to look at the source of information. So when we're saying an audit trail, to me, this is another type of online filing cabinet that has history. So you're attaching this document. So from when the auditors come in, if they want to see, the transaction that pertains to, or the source invoice that pertains to this transaction, it is right here. From an audit trail, having the history behind it. So for this particular transaction, if they wanted to see who actually approved it, then they have the ability right within here to see who requisitioned for this conference, who actually secured it with the vendor. And then when the information, the hard copy came in after the conference was done and AP is sitting there, opens the hard copy bill, they can now do a two-way match. And when I say two-way match, they have the ability now, this has already gone through approval. AP doesn't have to worry about that online approval, because it's capturing the person who created it, the date and the time, and now they can just convert it to a vendor invoice and pay it. So when you're talking about the audit trail and the history right there, it is all housed right within this transaction. Same with the payment. So when I'm talking about, you'll see I paid it, then I voided the entire amount because I only wanted to pay partial for whatever reason. But you'll notice all the information pertaining to even the payment is housed right here in this transaction. Now, I'm going to stay on this transaction because this is going to pertain to any transaction in your organization, whether it's a journal entry, whether it's an AR invoice or order, AP bill, you're tagging it. You're tagging it so that you can expand your footprint. You're expanding your footprint so that you can slice and dice the information and get reports out you need. So if you saw all those wonderful reports on the dashboard, the way that I'm able to produce them is because I'm slicing and dicing the information. So let's talk about this. You have that natural chart of account number, and that's what you have in QuickBooks, a natural chart of account number. But I would venture to say you can take that chart of account number and you might have it designated by a dot or a dash to include what was the fund, what was the grant, the program, the restriction. You may use the class for the grant or the program, but look at this as a whole bunch of classes that you now have available to you. So some would look at this and say, okay, but I'm taking it out. Doesn't it make it harder? No, not by any means. I can say this is conference fees or printing or office supplies, and I have the ability, if I choose to, let's say I used a specific grant for this conference. I can have this grant attached, and it can bring in the fund, the restriction, the department. You have the ability to build relationships when you're tagging information with dimensions. So you can or you don't have to. The other beautiful thing is you don't actually have to tag it. If you guys are looking at this and go, Mary Frances, that's just way too many dimensions, then just hide them. If you're looking at this going, well, I'm needing another, well, you have that ability. But here's what's the most important. If you don't name these, what I have these labels termed now, then you can change the terminology. Maybe you don't have fund. Maybe you're a church and this is a ministry. Maybe you don't have grants. So this is what gives you the flexibility to come in and name these dimensions, what resonates with your organization, and then determine how many you want to have, whether you want them hard-coded when you're tagging or not. So again, a nice way to present how you can see the process. And again, this is all done with sitting down and speaking with you and determining how the behavior of your team works and the process you're looking for. So now we've gone through a few things here. I just want to go through a few more because Joan talked about, being able to track for compliances and, reporting and accountability. Well, again, in 2019, it started in 2018 if you were a calendar year. If you're more fiscal, then you're going to have to follow these guidelines. So typically, at least for me, for the last 20-some years, your restrictions were reported in a manner of format this way for a statement of activities in which you reported the change of net assets forward to your statement of financial position. Again, in all these formats, and you're following compliance because, again, any funds coming into the organization are being tagged appropriately. But now with the 958 update, they're saying, yeah, we're not going to use 3 columns of restrictions. We're only going to comply with 2. All they did was move these 2 together to have with donor restrictions and without. Now, here at Intacct, you could have possibly been an install client that decided, well, I've been doing it this way for 20 years. I'm going to continue. So what you can have is dual reporting. But with that dual reporting, you can still comply with government standards and still feed this change in net assets from your statement of activities over to your statement of financial positions in the appropriate format. So again, we can comply with what's out there, but still function as the way you need to. The other is, I don't know who does your 990 with regard to the statement of functional expenses. For me personally, as a treasurer of a nonprofit, I had to do this, so I prepared the 990 manually for 5 years. In this case, what I did when I came aboard is create what I call a worksheet. So I don't want you to think we actually do the 990. However, you can have a wonderful report that validates those numbers. You can see it in this format, or if you choose, because you can slice and dice these reports, even break out. So a lot of people want to now see where you have program services here. You can see all the programs you have if you choose to do it that way. And for those of you that are get grants, federal grants that are above the threshold, for federal grants and you have to comply with the CFA report, the Statement of Expenditures for Federal Awards, then you can capture that grant information, the agency, the program name that was that you funded, the CFDA. Also, what was the award amount that the government awarded you for that grant, and how much did you spend last year and how much did you spend this year? So again, a wonderful report that's going to help. The other thing when we're talking about compliance is you guys now, they're coming down with so many different mandates, and instead of actually doing them some in the report, you can do them through disclosures. So disclosures about your liquidity. Again, because you're constantly in the solution and it's updating the numbers. At the end of the year, these numbers are going to be updated in these reports. Same with the investments for some of the footnotes. So for a lot of you, whether it's endowment type information or things that you're keeping, you're wanting these different footnotes here. So from what I call a quantitative, so dollars, you can have these reports from a disclosure, but from a qualitative, when you're trying to talk to the different board members that are out there about all of this stuff, you can even have a discussion. So remember when we talked about the collaboration? Well, you can actually build just collaboration for those people that you need to talk to. So again, a wonderful day, a wonderful way to be accountable for a lot of this reporting. Now, I just have a few minutes left, so we just went through just a lot of the dashboards. We showed you things. I also want to show you how this accountability will help with growth. So, you're able to have when we talked about the different types of entities that you might have, well, you might have different entities that are out there. I want you to feel comfortable that you can report by these different types of entities. So if I have a whole bunch of entities that I need to report by, and again, if you have different instances of QuickBooks, then you're doing a journal entry if you are paying out of one entity or even one fund on behalf of another. Here within Intacct, we have the ability to keep track of that. So with our inter-entity due to, due from, when you set up these different organizations, you have the ability to keep track of all this due to, due from information. So I wanted to show you that because I believe that that's just important when you're growing and scaling in this environment. Now, if we take a look at, from a CFO perspective, because Joan talks a lot about this reporting and accountability, today I would venture to say, and I know you can in QuickBooks, you have the ability to go out and take a look at the different dashboards, or not so much dashboards, it's a snapshot in QuickBooks. Here at Sage Intacct, you can take this dashboard and make it a lot more strategic. So it's strategic in the sense that you're seeing real-time information anytime, anywhere, on any device. But for me, the way strategic comes to life is all of these components. If I wanted to see this report in prior year, which you can do, you can pull a report for prior year for QuickBooks and apply it and run it there. What you don't get is where these performance cards all come with the prior year. This waterfall schedule with the breakdown of these operating expenses, you will not get for the prior year. So now you're starting to tell a story. So when Joan talks about that increasingly complex funding streams, and you need to, or having information about the programs, and you need to see that live or from a prior year, you can immediately put it in here. And the same, we talked about the dimensions. Here's where the dimensions are very robust. If I just wanted to look at the information on this report from the Youth Center, I can just apply that for the prior year. So again, in QuickBooks, you can change things up, but you can filter in QuickBooks. Here, you're going in and you're doing a lot more than just filtering. So I have just a few minutes left. Let's go in because she talks a lot about reporting and audit trail. So, just being able to go down into a report and take a look at how intuitive and easy this is. You have the financial report. I can go see the different, and you can see it's going to be the same information that's on the dashboard. But here's, again, where you become more efficient. You can see this information from a column. You can see all the different rows, and they're more in summary mode. But understand, if you guys do grants, you can see the information under there. I can see the type of grants or the type of contributions. But what's just as important is maybe who. On the grants, tell me the restrictions on the contributions. Again, depending on what type of information you're feeding through, you're going to have the ability. And what I'm showing you is all about point and click functionality. The ability to go in and say, you know what, of those grants, I want to see what the restrictions are for each of those programs. Of the contributions coming in, I would really love to see who actually gave me that money. And for some of the program expenses, what locations was that information, where those expenses at. So again, point and click functionality, and you're going to notice right here on the fly that for the grant information for each one of these programs, I can see the funding that's restricted. I can see the funding that came in from each of these individuals, and I can see the expenses for these programs for each one of these locations. So that's how flexible and dynamic our reporting is. You can also email this report, send it out Excel, you can print it, so you can export any of the information that we have. And just so that you know, it's the same. We have all of our reports, just like you do, in a central repository, but what makes it much more unique is you can place them on a dashboard and call them from there. So you're seeing all the reports here. I have the favorites against them. I can export them in all of these different formats. I can edit them up. I can schedule reports to go out. So think about it. Like for me, meeting with the board of directors, I had the ability to schedule all these, I had to send out different reports. So I didn't have this available, but in here in Intacct, you'd have the ability to schedule and send all of these reports out on whatever cadence you needed. So again, just to go quickly through it, if I needed to get information in, even for the journal types, I want you to see whether you're bringing information in through a CRM, whether you're bringing your payroll information in, you have the means in which to import it and get that information easily into the solution. You have the ability to do as many budgets as you choose to. So here I can come out and again, I can have an original budget. That's where you see most of the reports. I can have a forecasting budget. So all these different reports are going to help when it comes to that strategic way, what Joan was talking about, being able to track and report on things. So again, here you're going to see that for the budget positions for each one of my different programs, not only do I have my actual original budget, I even have a percent variance out here. I even went so far as to say, you know what? I want a budget by original budget and a mid-year against my actual for a variance, so I can do that. I can also do any type of remaining budget. So when I have to be accountable for things, I want to be able to make sure that I have the ability to do that. And at the end of the day, what's just as important is you guys have money coming into your organization, out of the organization, being able to reconcile any type of entities, checkbooks, savings account, charge card is very important as well. So I hope this helped to give you a different flavor of the things you can do in the Sage Intacct solution, help you understand how you can grow and scale in here with a lot of touch points that have audit trails. It can be paperless. You can set up workflow approvals for that as well. And we look forward to having you contact us. Have a great day.
We've helped thousands of customers move from QuickBooks to Sage Intacct, and we would love to help you leave the frustration behind and have the insight, visibility, automation, easy reporting that you need for your nonprofit organization. So we're here, we're ready to help you, and we'd love to have the opportunity to help you with that. We've been keeping up with your questions as we've gone along today, so hopefully we got to all of those. If we didn't, we will follow up with you afterwards, and we'll also have some contact information, so feel free to reach out if there's anything we can do to further assist you. This I wanted to share with you because it just gives you an idea of some of the variety and the breadth and depth of the types of organizations that we work with at Sage Intacct, so you can see everything here from human services to healthcare, to international relief, faith-based organizations, educational organizations. So all types of nonprofit organizations that are taking advantage of best-in-class cloud financial management and helping their organizations have greater success. So when you get this deck, you'll see some hyperlinks here. There's some great additional resources available on our website or through the hyperlinks, so please check those out. Lots of great information, customer stories, videos, lots of things that might be helpful to your finance team. And again, feel free to call us or reach out if we can help. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have contact information here. We would love to help your organization, so feel free to reach out to us, and if there's anything we can do, we would love to do that. Thanks, everyone.